Welcome, 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 track and field fans. Special live edition of the Friday 15. Normally it's taped, and normally it's on Friday. Today it's live and on Thursday. And why is it live? It's live from Jamaica, because the guy right there, Jonathan Gault, boots on the ground in Kingston. We're less than 24 hours away, folks, from between the unveiling of a new track and field league, Grand Slam track. We've got investors, VC people willing to spend $30 million to try to make track and field popular, try to make themselves rich. Will it work? We'll find out over 4 meets this year and hopefully some meets next year. And we've got Jonathan Gault breaking it down for us. In Jamaica, I'm Robert Johnson, Let's Run Nugget co-founder, joined by my genetic equal, faster twin brother Weldon Johnson. John, it must feel good to be back in the colonies for you. I know John is from the UK. He's back in the Commonwealth. How is it in Jamaica? Hopefully, it used to be a wild thing to go to Jamaica before marijuana was legal in the U.S. I guess now the desire to do that type of stuff isn't as big. I hope that you're sober and with your wits and still impressive today on today's show.
There are big signs that say no smoking in the building I'm staying in, and that, they've got a marijuana leaf there. So they don't want us smoking. I haven't been smoking. I'm stone cold sober for this one, Robert. Yeah, they drive on the left side of the road here in Jamaica. So that was a little like, oh, it's bringing me back to my childhood here. No, it's nice. It was very hot. It's in the 80s. I mean, the races on Sunday afternoon are right in the midday sun. It's going to be very toasty. I would not predict fast times at all in the women's 5K or the men's 3K because it's just going to be like 80 plus degrees, no shade or anything. It'll be tough. But no, it's nice to be here. The airport's like kind of I think it might be reclaimed land, but there's like this, you take this long bridge to get to the mainland from the airport. And that was kind of cool seeing the water and all the Uber drivers here. I've already been in through 3 Ubers because I've been, going to the press conference and back. They're all super friendly. They're like, oh, welcome to Jamaica, telling me about this stuff. Like, it's been fun. So it's nice I haven't gotten to experience a ton of Jamaican culture in terms of the food or anything like that yet. Looking to check that out, but it's nice. This is one of the famous track nations. You've got the United States, obviously. You've got Kenya. You've got Ethiopia, and you've got Jamaica. So I'm glad I'm finally down here.
Yeah, every track and field fan probably needs to see a meet in Jamaica before they die. I was thinking about that today. We have a new series, we have a new format, we have a new league. And I did think it's quite strange just from a pragmatic standpoint that the first meet is in Jamaica, because we don't even have a Diamond League meet in Jamaica. Like financially, it's not a place, I guess, that has the resources to support a Diamond League meet. Yet some reason Grand Slam track decided to kick off their series in Jamaica. Weldon doesn't like me going negative. I was honestly thinking, though, I assume they picked Jamaica because A, it's warm. You want to have warm weather this type of year for sprinters. And then B, like a lot of the top U.S. pros are running in Jamaica this time of the year anyways, like Noah Lyles, etc. And but ironically, some of those top pros, the Sha'Carris, the Noah Lyles, the Grant Holloways, aren't there. But let's don't go negative. Let's go positive. What's the buzz on the ground? Does it feel big? Do you feel like something like? Does this feel like at least like a Diamond League tomorrow?
Definitely. It definitely felt big. When I got to the meet hotel where they're doing the press conference, as soon as I walk in, I see this huge crowd of people around an athlete taking pictures. I'm like, who could that be? And who are all these people? I couldn't tell what the breakdown is, how much is in-house media from Grand Slam track versus, other outlets, but it felt big. They were doing this thing called the drip walk where everyone would, the athletes would wear whatever they wanted. A lot of them chose very interesting, colorful outfits. They walk out one exit of the hotel and then they walk in another entrance, and it was kind of like a red carpet that pours in front of a backdrop, takes some glamour shots. I didn't see Sydney McLaughlin-Leverone do this, by the way. Most of the athletes who were at the press conference, which was about a dozen of them, I think all of them did it except for her, which I thought was odd given she's kind of the face of the league. But no, that felt big. There was a decent amount of media. Justin Gatlin and Asafa Powell were there milling around. Gatlin was actually on my flight into Kingston. So there was a definite buzz around the Meet Hotel and around the press conference. And it feels pretty big. We'll see what the turnout's like tomorrow in the stadium, but I got a good vibe. Like it was like looking at this, I'm like, yeah, this feels very, there were some mishaps with the mics and stuff during the press conference, but it felt pretty professional other than that.
Thank you, John. And Robert, all these YouTube metrics, they say the first 30 seconds is what most important. And we weren't even talking about the meet. We weren't even talking about the buzz. So let's try to get excited about this thing, people. John is saying the pre-race press conference was exciting. That's good. That's a good first start. That means nothing about the meet, but it shows there is a level of professionalism. You saw that with Athlos. We saw stuff that we hadn't seen with the sport. So that's good. And Justin Gatlin was on John's plane. Powell was there. But John, I'll go a little negative. Where's Bolt?
Well, all right. I will say this.
Where's Shelly Ann Fraser-Price?
Usain Bolt's father just died, so he's probably not in a celebration mood this week. But I was wondering about that heading in because they were touting on social media. I think they're going to get a number of top Jamaicans, legends will be in the stands or whatever. But were they going to get Bolt? I don't know. That I'm not going to, ding them or anything if Bolt doesn't show up to this, given his family circumstances. But I was curious about that. But yeah, and the Uber driver on the way in from the airport, I was telling him all about it. He's like, "Oh, you're in here for the track thing. What's that?" I'm like, "Oh, it's Grand Slam track. They're doing this meet here." And he's like, "Oh, okay. This sounds kind of interesting." And then he's like, "So, like, have they got some big stars running? Like, is Noah Lyles doing it?" And I'm just like, no, Noah's not doing it, quite notably, but they do have a lot of stars. Like, we do have to give them credit. This is, any track meet that's got Gabby Thomas and Cole Hocker, Yared Nuguse, Emmanuel Wanyonyi, I guess Quincy Hall's not in it because he's injured, but Sydney, like, these are some of the big stars of track and field. They're all coming down the race. There's a lot of prize money on the line. There's a lot of questions, a lot of these hypotheticals we always talk about, like how fast could Cole Hocker run in an 800, or how would Emmanuel Wanyonyi do in a 1500 against the world's best guys? Robert has claimed he'd wipe the floor with them. What would happen? Now we actually get to find out. So I'm excited about that. Like, it should be a fun meet.
Correct.
Yeah, the fields are.
I think the first meet will be the best in terms of the format. And I think we need to make predictions at the end of this thing, whether we think the doubling format, the made up scoring system will be a hit. I think they're going to struggle with it, but the first meet should be entertaining. We've never seen this, but it's already very weird just reading the previews. And if you haven't been to the homepage, go to letsrun.com each and every day, the home of running. John's got two wonderful articles up. One's an overview of the meet, and one is of the men's 1500, 800 group. But it's just, even editing the articles, it's so much different than anything I've done. It's like you're writing about the 1500, 800 group. And look, on Saturday, we're going to have a 1500 with the top three from the Olympics in Paris, which was one of the matchups of the games. And it's going to be unrabbited. We've never seen this. We've never seen Kerr, Nuguse, Hocker in an unrabbited championship race. I mean, officially we have.
Well, what do you mean? We just mentioned the Paris Olympic final.
That's rabbited. Those races are rabbited. Every race we've seen with these guys is rabbited. It's rabbited by a man by the name of Jakob Ingebrigtsen. So this is fascinating. But the question is, when we see it a fourth time in the span of 2 months, will it still be fascinating? We've never seen Cole Hocker run an 800 at an elite level. Yared Nuguse. How fast can they go? That's fun now. Or we never see how they stack up against the 800 guys. How the 800 guys stack up against the 1500 guys. That's fascinating the first time. Like the 110 hurdles running a 500. But am I really going to want to see that 4 times? I don't think that I am. I hope that I'm proven wrong. People think that I'm slamming on this league. I just have long been, my long thing is, if there was an easy way to make track and field super popular, we would have figured out a long time ago. And I just think a simple way would be like, okay, if you want to have 4 big meets, just have 4 big meets. You don't necessarily need the doubling. You don't necessarily need the scoring system. But in some ways, it's weird. It's like we're going to get these amazing matchups, but there's so many events, and it's hard to fathom, and then you're going to have the scoring. It's a lot for my brain to comprehend. Even John, when I was editing your article, I called you up and I said, well, you didn't talk much about the 8. And you're like, well, I'm more into the 15. I'm like, well, but they're giving the 100K over how they do in both events.
Right. And that's the thing I'm struggling with a little bit, Robert, is just what am I supposed to care about? Am I just supposed to care about the person who takes home the 100K? Like, is that who I should view? That is who's being crowned as sort of the winner of each slam. But am I really going to get like fired up if Cole Hocker gets second in the 15 and second in the 800 and he doesn't win either event? Like, maybe I don't know how I'll feel. I think Cole Hocker himself was sort of working through it, because I asked him, I'm like, how would you feel about that? He's like, well, I'd be happy to have the money, but I'd be kind of pissed to lose those races. And they said, like, what will a win in this event mean to you? And he's like, I think that's something we're going to find out. We've got the Olympics, we've got Worlds. We'll have a better idea of what exactly this means maybe towards the end of the season. But yeah, I mean, when I look at these events, like right now, I'm more interested. I'm just focused on the first race for this 1500 group. I want to know which of the 3 Olympic medalists comes out on top, and how competitive is Wanyonyi. And hell, I don't even need the second race. Like, I'm happy to have it. I will watch it with excitement. But that first race at all, that's the one I'm really, really fired up about right now.
So who's your pick?
Do you read my preview? I'm picking Hocker.
Why don't you tell people the quote?
Oh yeah,
I agree with you. First of all, like, I mean, I think Hocker has to be the pick. He won the Olympics 327. He's got a great kick.
Right, and there was someone started throwing the message board. They're like, Cole Hocker's never won a Diamond League. He's never won the Olympics. Is the only major international race he's won. And I would say, well, that is a pretty big one. And it's also, I guess you claim that the Olympics is rabbited. It kind of sort of was, but this will not be a 327 race, certainly, but Cole Hocker was in 2 championship finals last year. He won both of them and looked amazing in both of them. And his quote, he's starting to act like the Olympic champion. He's carrying the swagger of an Olympic champion. This was his line. He said, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think I'm the best racer in the world, and I think I proved that in Paris. And this was like one of his first lines of the whole of the press conference. Said it right with Josh Kerr and Yared Nuguse sitting next to him. Yeah, the dude has no fear. And I asked him about like the 1500. What if it's a 345 race? You've got Arop and Wanyonyi in that. He's like, yeah, that's, those guys are really good, but I bat my final 200 over anyone in the world. So he's feeling himself, and with good reason. And I'm, like you said, Robert, that race, that's why I'm picking him. I think he's got the best kick. I trust him in a tactical race. I think Nuguse and Kerr are really, really good. If one of them's like taking this a little bit more seriously than one of the others, certainly they could win it. But my pick is Hocker.
I think Hocker has to be the pick, John. But it's sort of interesting, right? For the American distance runners on the male side, Grant Fisher's never won a Diamond League. Cole Hocker's never won a Diamond League. And I think they're both the best chances to win. But they have had such great success at the Olympics. And then they both had great indoor seasons. I mean, Hocker's was much shorter than Fisher's, it really just the race he lost to Fisher is what I'm judging that on. But that was so fabulous. We know he was fit, 6 weeks ago?
Yeah, and he ran a 12:57 5K PB after that as well. So he's the strongest he's ever been.
I've got the clip here, John. You ask him, how would you define success this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, success, I always say it, but I only want to win, and I always want to win. When I'm on the track, winning's everything, and so that's going to be a success. It's interesting how it's scored. You could technically win by not winning an individual race, but I think the easiest way to do that is just to win both.
Yeah, well, that's what I was wondering. Like, if you get second in both races and you win the slam, are you going to be happy with that? Or are you going to be pissed you lost the 15?
I think I'll be happy about the money and pissed that I got beat.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. What do you think you can run for an 800 right now?
We'll find out Saturday.
Wow, he almost told you. I think he was tempted. Now let's talk a little about scoring. We've been talking in theory about this, but it's just as we get closer and closer, I'm like, this is going to be weird to follow this in your mind. But I've just done the math in my head as a former high school math teacher here, by the way. The person getting second twice is not going to be winning. The way this is scored, 12, 8, 6, 5, 4, basically the winner, you have to win an event to win this event. If you win an event and as long as you're 1, 2, 3, 5th place in the next event, nobody can beat you unless they won an event, because you would have 16 points. And then if somebody else goes 8 and 8, they tie you at 16, but one of the tiebreakers is your highest finish in one of the events. So you would actually win, so you're being an event winner. So the event winners, it's just going to be whoever wins the first event on day 1 needs to finish 5th or higher and finish higher than the person who wins the event on day 2. So you really only need to focus on one person and really know what the second winner did in the first day. And I think it's going to be. Look, yes or no? Do you think this format is going to be? I think instinctively we'll know whether it's good or bad. I don't think we're going to like it. I do think actually. I was thinking the 3,000s and 5,000s unrabbited in 85-degree weathers are going to be absolute disasters. They're going to be jog fest. These are the type of things that would be booed at a normal track meet. But I actually think the money will make the second one of those races more interesting because we'll be watching. They will be going all out for $100,000. So that might help there, but I don't think that I'm really going to end up loving this format, say, the second meet. What about you guys?
Well, before we get there, for the people who couldn't see the Cole Hocker video, he definitely has the Jesus look going, I would say. I mean, I've only seen pictures of Jesus probably made like 100 years, 500 years after his life, but what I envision Jesus looking like. But like the flow was going really good. The beard is much thicker. He was smiling. And then also it did look like a big event, John. Like there were flashes, like cameramen were taking his picture as you were talking to him. Like the visuals are very good for this. That's good. But John, also you were laughing during the interview in the background. What did you find amusing? Like, did you like, oh wow, I remember this? Or like, what was so funny? You had a chuckle on your face.
Oh,
or maybe you're reading your text. Wow.
I think I was just agreeing with Cole, like, you know, in terms of he wants to win everything. I guess I should, it's kind of a dumb question. I know Cole Hocker a little bit. The guy doesn't like getting second, whether it's a 5K or a 10K or cross country race. Like, he just hates effing losing any race. So even if he gets beat by Wanyonyi and A-Rop, two of the 4 fastest guys in the history of the world in the 800, he's going to walk away saying, I should have beat those guys. That's just the way he's wired. So I was just kind of chuckling at that. Like, of course, that's going to be Cole Hocker's response because the dude wants to win anytime he steps on the track.
But back to Robert. What was your question again? Sorry, I sidetracked things here.
Are we on board with the scoring system? I mean, we've talked about this for the last 6 months. Not really. I need to be won over by it. I'm leaving my mind a little bit open, but my suspicion is that it will be tweaked. They're having them double to get more inventory for the TV broadcasts, which I understand why they're doing it, but as a track fan, doesn't always make the most sense. I do think it creates some really interesting matchups, so I do like that part of it. But do I think the doubling will be around like 3 years from now? Probably not in this format. Certainly the 3K, 5K, I feel like you just cut one of those events and maybe chop the prize money in half for that event. Just have them one event, 50K for the win. You'll still get a really good fields.
Right. With a lot of things with this, I hope I'm proven wrong. I hope the scoring does catch on. But like the beauty of the sport is you care who wins the race. We're now changing completely how this is evaluated. I've said I don't really see the need for 3K, 5K. I think on the women's side, you might have more variance, like who wins 3K versus the 5K. But also, like, you have these weird anomalies, right? Like, certain events are getting a clean shot at 100K. 110 hurdler, you're just competing against another 110 hurdlers for 100K. If you're a 100 guy, you got to be good at the 200 too, and you're competing against 2 events. 400 hurdles, I mean, Sydney's already so much better than everyone else, but she's only competing against the 400 hurdler. She doesn't even have to compete against another event she's not good at. I mean, she's good at everything, so that's not the best example. But yeah, I think the doubling is different. I think they have tweaked the scoring because the Wikipedia entry for the scoring said 10-8-6, which wouldn't guarantee that the winner would necessarily win. So I think it is smart to probably reward the winners more.
I'm on board with that. Yeah, they did tweak it. Yeah, I asked Kyle Mover about that. I mean, it used to be 10, now it's 12. That makes sense to me. The thing about Sydney, Weldon, though, Michael Johnson kicked off the whole press conference by saying, this is a quote, "You're not going to see the same athletes winning over and over." And I think largely that is correct in most events. Certainly, I don't think you're going to see that many sweeps. And from meet to meet, you might get some variance. But the 400 hurdles, I'm assuming Sydney makes it to the start line at all 4 Grand Slams. I assume she'll win all 8 of her races easily.
Does he mean they won't win the same athletes winning the series, or you won't have athletes sweeping both events at the series?
Yeah, I think so many more sweeping.
As we're saying, there's so many ways you could take this.
Yeah, I think more sweeping.
Sweeping's hard. I think if Noah Lyles was here, he's a guy who could sweep the 100, 200. Curly, probably don't see him sweeping the 2. And also, it's sort of different. If the events are different, or if you're a specialist in one event, it's really going to hurt you in the other event. But like an 8-15, with the exception of Wanyonyi, you're going to have 4 people who are pretty good at one event and not as good at the other. Maybe the 15 guys can challenge the 8 guys more so than the other way. It's just going to be really interesting to see. They probably role played out some of these things and realized oh my God, we need to give 12 points instead of 8. It's too much chaos if we don't. So hopefully they've tried these things. Hopefully they have some graphics to quickly determine the winner. Because this, the tiebreaker is cumulative time. It's the slogan's only the fastest. That's actually not what this is about. This is who's the best over 2 events. But you have really good athletes. They've got great fields. I think ultimately 4 tremendous track meets is a much easier sell to get fans to watch, to come out, whatever. But I don't think that's as viable as a TV product, so it may not be as viable as a business. So they might need this to work more, and they've got the money for some runway to try to figure some things out here. And maybe we'll know probably by Sunday night if we're a bunch of idiots and this was just amazing and some of our criticisms were way off base.
I feel like it's going to be hard for me to have a full opinion of the series after just seeing it once, because I might come away and think, oh my God, that was the best thing ever. Look at all those matchups. But am I going to be, less enthused when I see it for the 4th time in 3 months?
Yeah, but say a month later, you see 4 weeks ago, we'll see the exact same thing.
Sports is hard. I mean, I love sports, but I love the Diamond League. I think we have a great product to begin with, and the numbers, lots of people don't agree, and it's not very popular, but let's talk predictions. Are you excited about Grand Slam track? Poll on the front page of Let'sRun.com. 70% say yes, 30% say no. Will Grand Slam track exist in 5 years? 78% say no, 22% say yes. So most people are like me. They're excited for it, but they don't think that there's a hidden bullet. But we don't know. You don't know what's going to take off, what's going to be successful. Women's soccer, so much money has been burned on that in this country over the last 20 years. 5 years ago, you could get an expansion team for $2 million. All of a sudden, it's $110 million to get an expansion team. It's still not making money, but people want to invest in it. So, Tesla was worth at one point 10 or 20 times worth all the other car companies in the world combined, just because it was hot. So it's not necessarily about the profits. It's about what people think is cool and whatever. All right. Who wins 800? Let's talk odds.
Robert, can I jump in here for a second, though? I just want to say a couple things. One, I want to hear from the 29% who aren't excited for Grand Slam track. If you're in the chat right now and you're listening to our Grand Slam track preview, why aren't you excited for it? Because to me, I don't know if it's going to work, but I'm excited for it. A lot of good athletes.
I'll tell you why.
What's wrong? What are you not excited for?
It's just watered down World Indoors. We didn't get Hocker, Nuguse, or Kerr at World Indoors. There's no field events. If you're a field event fan, you're not excited about this. And the third thing is, if you're sort of a Bernie bro, or even there's the idea that some of the Trump supporters and the Bernie bros are the same thing. If you're actually someone that doesn't like all of the wealth going to the top, you're not really a fan of this. This is about let's strip away the field events. Let's strip away the minor leagues. And once the runners are already stars, we'll take them and we'll make money off them. And we, the investors, will make money. It's not about world athletics, about making money. It's not about the sport making money. Now, maybe you need that for-profit motive to actually push the sport forward, but it's just a lot of track and field fans are traditionalists, and they're sort of, they like the old school way. And I hope I'm not one of those people, because in some ways at the beginning of the show, it reminded me, I think the camera flashlights, I think some of that's fake. I think they're doing that on purpose. I think they're doing that to make it look big, because it does look bigger when you have them coming off the buses and the walkouts. And that's cool. But every sporting event does that. That's not going to make the sport popular, but it needs to be done. I remember in college when I went to the Millrose games and I got on the interwebs, there was an email listserv, and I'm like, my buddy Chris Lear and I, we like, this is not a professional sporting event. There was no fireworks. There was no intros. There was no dimmed lights. I'm like, you get that at the NBA games. So it's good that Grand Slam track is doing this now, but that's not necessarily enough to make it go to the next level. So I just think, there's people, if you're a field event fan, you're not happy with this.
Okay, John, 15% of people think the earth is flat. They're just going to click be contrary and pick something. Field events, Robert's on to. People don't give a crap that there's investors on it, that they're putting up $12.4 million extra dollars in prize money. That's a good thing for the sport, Robert. Athletes are getting paid. Like, everyone likes that aspect of it. You got a $30 million, as Robert's saying, in the big sport ecosystem is it's not even sneezing. So, and there is think about Olympic sports, the biggest sport at the Olympics. Sorry, swimming, gymnastics, or whatever. Like, there's so much upside if you can make track work, $1 billion business or something like that. Like that, this is nothing for these guys. So hopefully they learn from week one, or maybe it's a rounding success. We go to week two. John, also, like four preseason meets. Arguably, these meets are all. Usually, we're talking about the Boston Marathon or something right now. So I can see people are like, hey, I'm not really ready for track. I don't want to see athletes not in their prime. I can see people critiquing stuff. So they'll watch it, but they're not like super excited. And also, as it approaches, I'm like, wait, the 15, if it was on itself, I'd probably be more focused, but I'm like, they have the 8 afterwards. So I'm just sort of, it conflicts me a little bit. So I can see some argument.
I mean, it's the time we're used to having preseason meets, but the talent they've got here and the stakes in terms of money, it's decidedly not preseason. Their whole thing is they want to make this actually to be a big meet that matters and that we care about. So, yeah, Michael Johnson, he spoke to the press briefly, and he said his big thing, he's looking for 2 things this weekend. One is excitement. He wants people to come away from this feeling like, hey, this was good. I was excited. I had a good time. And also that the people who weren't there say, hey, actually, I think I missed out. Like, I got to make sure I'm part of the next one. And then moving forward, year over year, you want growth. And I think even if they're losing money the first few years, if they're showing some growth, that might be enough to keep investors on board. But obviously, at some point you want to be.
But what does growth mean?
Money.
It's kind of interesting in the sense of, like, you want the big stars in track, yes, as a fan. But the problem with track is, like, even the Grand Slams in tennis, you want all the big stars of the tournament, but you don't get the same matchups at each tournament. You have different people playing different people in different rounds, and it ends up being different. Or in the NFL, like, the Ravens don't play the Chiefs 4 times a year. At max it's 2. I guess you could play a division rival, maybe 3. So just kind of interesting. All right, let's talk predictions. We want to get out of here. And then
it is kind of crazy. We've done 30 minutes. We haven't talked about, and we kind of talked about the 1500. We haven't done the individual matchups. But I think
let's get to
that's the thing with Grand Slam. It's so new, and
it's hard. There's
8
event groups.
They're gonna, if they want to know Lyles, they're gonna have to pay more money. I'm sorry, that's what it's gonna take. I'm shocked that they don't have one of those superstars on the sprints at this time. I mean, I guess they would say we have Gabby Thomas, we have Sydney, but they had Sydney from the get go. But enough of that. What predictions do you want, Robert?
Well, we were told that there would be massive gambling lines. That's not really true. Some gambling lines have come out. You can barely bet any money on it. But the 8:15 men's betting line is not even out yet. But it's interesting. Like, I put up a poll and let's run. Who wins the 800 Grand Slam track? 42% said Wanyonyi, 27% A-Rob. You're a fool if you pick anybody else. 19% say Huppel. Who wins the 1,500 meters men's? This is interesting, but it's pretty much what you'd expect. 33% Hocker, 31% Nuguse, 26% Kerr. Of those three, who do you think needs to push the pace? I assume it would be Nuguse that would push the pace. I think Kerr and Hocker are going to take their chances.
Yeah,
So
I think
I
it will
think
be Nuguse, but he spoke about this in the press conference. He's like, he wanted to kind of keep it a secret. Like, he didn't want to just have everyone assume he was going to take the pace, even though that's what most people think he will do. And Hocker even said in my interview, yeah, if it's going really slow, like if it's like 340s or something, that's just so slow. I feel like you wouldn't even pay that much of I don't know if he said this exactly, but I think his sentiments were you wouldn't even pay that much of a penalty for leading if you picked it up a little. Like, I think he'd feel just a little bit more comfortable if the pace was, somewhere in the 330s than the 340s, but he still trusts his kick no matter the pace.
I think there will be a decided advantage to having your off event group be the second event group. So you win the first event group. Again, based on the scoring system, someone who wins the event's almost certainly going to win $100,000. And then in the second event group, I think this is going to be a real problem with the series the more I think about it. In the second event group, you don't try to win. You don't even try to do well. You just try to do better than what you think. Like, okay, you assume, let's say Hocker wins the 1500. The next day we go to the 800. Hocker doesn't give a shit about the 800. All he cares about is A-Rob's not going to do well in the 1500. So Wanyonyi's probably going to, he's not worried about A-Rob. He's just like, I just got to finish higher than wherever Wanyonyi finished in the 1500.
Robert, this is why you were never a great athlete. You're not wired like those guys. Cole Hocker's not going in thinking, I can finish third and I'll get the prize money because that'll be better than the finish that Marco A-Rob and Emmanuel Wanyonyi got in the 1500. He's going in, I want to go and rip these guys' heads off. That's what he's wired. Were you not listening when I was talking to him? He wants to win every race he's in. That's how all of these guys are. Josh Kerr is not just going to be comfortable. Oh, I'll just sit back and try to get fourth. Like, these guys go into these races wanting to win, especially the sprints.
Hey, John, why did Josh Kerr's when we bumped into Josh Kerr's coach at USA Indoors, and we said, "Hey, why is Josh doing it?" What was his answer, John?
Well, I assume because of the money. That's not actually the answer Josh gave, but yes, he wants the money, but he's going to get paid either way. He'll get paid a lot of money for getting fifth. He's got one of those sweet racer contracts. Once he's there, like this $100K per meet, yeah, it's a nice carrot, but I don't think that's. I think you vastly overestimate exactly how much this money is going through these people's minds in the race. When they're in the race, they're racing, they're pros, they're locked in.
Let's hope. All right. Most people think Wanyonyi's going to win the event group, 32%. Hawker's actually 30%. So I think most people kind of have that down pretty well. In terms of odds and the betting odds, Mary Moraa is the big favorite in the women's 800, which is not a surprise. Deribi Wateji, Natoya Galtupin. I mean, we don't have Akili Hutchinson. We don't have anything, Mo. So unless she gets the pace wrong, I think she would win that. The 8, I'm not sure about the event group. The men's 100 is kind of interesting. Fred Curley's the betting favorite. I would say don't sleep on Akeem Blank. He ran 10:06. If you look that up, he had a 0.21 reaction time. He's already run 3 200s this year, including a 2020 PB. So if you're a betting person, he's at plus 750. You might want to consider that. And then, but a couple of these are interesting because who is the favorite in this 3,000, 5,000 group? I mean, we have Grant Fisher. Hagos Gabrasiwa, Telahum Bakele, who ran the 10K last week, Ronald Komai. Those are obviously the most likely people to win it. And this is a much different one than the other events because for the most part, it's distance runners. It's not like, oh, this is an 8 guy running the 15 guy running the, I guess you have some 10K guys running a 3K. But based on what happened at the Olympics, you'd think that Grant Fisher or Ronald Komai would be the favorites here. But the betting odds, they're third and fourth choices. Hagos Gebrhiwot minus 200. Telehun Bekele plus 300. Grant Fisher plus 370. Ronald Komoy plus 800. I think that we have no idea what shape Komoy's in. He's always injured. I would be very scared to put any money on him. And Grant Fisher had an amazing indoor season. And I think he's probably better suited than Telehun Bekele. I think that these odds are wrong. I think Bekele is probably, I don't know. He may be a better long distance runner, but a short distance when it's going to be hot as hell.
And he just ran a 10K 5 days ago.
That doesn't mean anything to me. It's
something to me. 26. He ran 26:41. I mean, I know his time said 26:52, but he got a late jump. Like, I don't think that's nothing. I know he's got super shoes to recover, but I'd rather have someone who's fresh. I mean, it's Fisher or Gebrhiwot for me, because Fisher, we know, is in sick shape indoors, but he admitted after indoors he took some time off, and he thought he didn't lose that much, but he said he's building up. You know, he's not as fit as he's going to be a month from now or 2 months from now. And whereas someone like Gebrhiwot, this guy usually cleans up on the circuit. Like, you guys remember he ran 12:36 last year in Oslo? And Grant, I was like asking Grant, who are you most worried about in this race? He's like, well, Gebrhiwot ran 12:36 and he closed in a 54. Like, you look at that, you're like, how does this guy ever lose to anyone? But
I agree.
He was only sixth
I
at the
think Hagos
Olympics.
Gebrhiwot up until this year was a better runner than Grant Fisher. And I don't even want to hear that Grant Fisher got a medal in the 5,000. Grant Fisher was in like 8th place and snuck a bronze. Hagos ran for gold and didn't medal. So I think he was better last year. The Ethiopians, ironically, they historically to me are poorly coached, and they often peak way too early in the season. So Grand Slam track you think might be perfect for them. Just go out, hammer it, and pick up a lot of money. So that will be interesting to me. But Gebrhiwot only ran 7:44 indoors. But, I had to edit John's little thing. He's like, Grant Fisher's accomplished a lot, all the American records, 2 Olympic medals, but he's never won a Diamond League. But he's come close on a number of occasions. And I was like, no, he hasn't. No, he hasn't. He's only finished within one.
Second or third. We've had this argument before. I mean, I guess you don't consider
well,
finishing third.
Help settle this argument, please. It says John lists all the times he's finished second or third in the Diamond League. It was like 8 times or something. And only one time was he within 1 second of the lead. If you're not within 1 second of the lead, you're not close to winning it.
Yeah, I agree with Robert actually on that one. I think until this year, a random Diamond League, whatever, you're picking Gebrhiwot. Bekele's run fast. He's never won one. I mean, so it's like
he has won a Diamond League a few years ago.
He did?
Put respect on the man's name. Don't you remember the T. Bekele celebration? Yeah.
But said this isn't Kenenisa Bekele, John. This is
I don't know. Well, Kenenisa actually, did Kenenisa ever win a Diamond League? I mean, the Diamond League kind of
was it a full-fledged field?
It was a points race. Like, Bekele's been on the circuit for a while. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head who was in the race, but he did win one. I mean, Fisher came very close in London last year, almost beat Labalu, who was 4th at the Olympics. Robert will probably be like, well, Jakob wasn't in that, so that race doesn't count.
I feel like it was probably a watered-down field before the Olympics when half the Africans didn't show up. True
it was the guy who was 3rd at the Olympics beat the guy who was 4th at the Olympics. Sounds really watered down to me, Robert.
But by the way, if you're new to the show, you can get this as a podcast by joining Supporters Club, letsrun.com/subscribe. If you don't like John and I's interactions with each other, realize it's a gig for the show. By the way, John, I just got an email this evening from Dartmouth grad class of 2001, Mr. Chalmers. I don't know if he wants his first name out there. He loved our segment on Tuesday's podcast. The Robert and Jonathan ornithology segment was a highlight for our family. We were in stitches listening to Robert's revelation about bird communication and Jonathan's response. Hilarious stuff. So, folks, just you can get that at podcast.letsrun.com. Catch all the old episodes. So, I don't know. Any other predictions? I didn't even make predictions. I was hoping to get rich on the betting, but I can't find a way to bet here in Maryland. I think it must be illegal. You can bet on everything in Maryland, but for some reason you can't bet on track and field.
Should we talk a little bit about some of these women's races, Robert? We do like the women's distance races as well. Like Mary Moraa, you said she's the pick in the 800. I agree. She's obviously the favorite there, but you got Nikki Hiltz, you got Jess Hull, the Olympic silver medalist. You've got Welteje, who was just second at World Indoors. Natoya Gould, the home favorite, who finds a way to never medal at the big championships, unfortunately, but she's competing on home soil. Like, I'm kind of curious who wins the 1500, and is Marah, who has never run one and is really a 400, 800 woman, is she competitive at all? Like, does she pull in a thing Mo and we're stunned and she's this unicorn, or does she just get smoked and tries to hold on to fifth or sixth and just take the prize? I don't think she's going in saying I just need to finish fifth or sixth, get the prize money, but I could see her getting dropped by some of these top women, like Nikki Hiltz or Jess Hull. Who you got
in the 15?
Yeah, because let's just set the stage here. Nikki Hiltz got smoked by Jess Hull at the Olympics last year, but if we use the transitive property, Nikki Hiltz beat Shelby Houlihan at USA Indoors. Shelby Houlihan beat Jess Hull at World Indoors. That was the 3K, not the 1500. But I mean, I think this is an opportunity for Nikki Hiltz to show up and say, like, yeah, I can close that gap, and it takes 352 to medal now. Maybe I can get there. It's probably not going to be a 352 race, but Nikki's also good in the slower races. So I think Nikki's going to be very dangerous, and I wonder if Jess Hull does try to pick up the pace at all, or Welteje.
Oh, I wouldn't be shocked if Nikki won the 15. Well, Welteje's there, so maybe I would be shocked. But like, Nikki's very fit. Even some of these 800 odds, she's 30-1. Excuse me, she likes the they them pronouns. Nikki's 30-1 in the 800. There's no guarantee Mary Marah wins the first 800 of the year. She could botch the pace or something like that. Marah's at -155.
I think this event group's interesting in the sense of, like, Mary Marah's at a huge disadvantage. Most of the field is 1500 oriented. So when you have an event when there's more like 5 or 6 of one type of athletes and then only 2 or 3 of the other, you're going to have a huge advantage in the other event because you're likely to finish much higher in that event and take the overall prize money. So Mary Marah's going to win the 800 unless she runs something like, even if she goes out in 55, she'll probably still win it. And then she's going to come back though in the 15. That's not her event. And there's like 5 or 6 1500 meter runners. So whoever wins the 15 is most likely to finish like maybe 3rd or 4th in the 800. That's probably going to be higher than what Mary Marah finished. Though I guess the one positive for Marah would be that the 1500 is second, so she'll know. Well, I guess she won't know exactly where she needs to finish, but that'll be interesting.
Real quickly, guys, I had the 5,000 meter odds up there. I mean, Gabriel Hewitt's better than even money. He doesn't win this more than 50% of the time, I don't think. When you say with Grant Fisher's fitness, I think that those odds are too high or Gabriel Hewitt.
Yeah, Tad. I mean, I think him and Fisher should be closer to, pretty close in terms of their odds.
Yeah, whereas Fisher's 3-1. I mean, there's a lot of value in Grant Fisher. I think that's your betting there. Your Budweiser, can a 3-1 be the long shot? Your Budweiser long shot, Grant Fisher. There you go, everybody. But also, guys, have you heard about the new Chat GPT? You can like spin out images. So I said, make me an image real quick of the polls, the Let's Run polls. Put in some images if you want. Here's what it threw up. I said, you can cut off some of the people.
Wait, who are these people? Is the guy on the right just like an amalgam of all American distance runners? Like, who is
I think
that
it's supposed
person?
to be Hocker. Is that Hawker's eyes? I think it's Hocker with
Hawker
no long hair. And
Hawker's hair is longer.
Wait, is that A-Rob on the left?
That's neither of those guys or anyone. I don't know who these people are.
I think the left is supposed to be A-Rob and the right is supposed to be Hocker. That's my take.
I think the right's just supposed to be a generic American distance runner, and that's like who they've decided is the average. Give the guy a mustache.
We combined. Let's not. They didn't combine Hocker and Nuguse.
Like that's what Pre would look like in 2025, maybe.
I was talking about the women's 3,000, 5,000 group. For some reason, they have Elise Craney as the third betting choice. That's idiotic to me. You got Sigai Grebesalama of Ethiopia.
She was the favorite a couple of days ago, Robert.
You have her plus 150. As you get Italia plus 220. Agnes Ngedic, who ran 28 something on the roads at plus 400. I spent a lot of time researching this today, and now I've already forgotten like all my stats. I mean, I guess I thought that was right in the sense of Taye never wins anything, right, John? She always runs fast but finishes second.
Correct, but my thinking here is a lot of the people who beat her are not in this race. So I feel like, she's run what, 14-12 or something like that? Like, she probably would be my favorite, but I do know that I'm not picking Whitney Morgan to win here. I just know she's in good shape. She just got fourth at World Indoors. Like, she wasn't that far back behind Jess Hull and Shelby Houlihan. So I'm not saying she's going to win, but I think she's pretty fit at the moment.
And true or false, Whitney Morgan and Elise Cranny all beat Gebra Salama at the 3K at Melrose, right?
Right. That's why I was just going to look that up to confirm, Robert. Well, then Whitney Morgan won that race, and I seem to remember Gebra Salama being in it, and it wasn't particularly close. She was kicking against Josette Andrews on the last lap of that race. Gebra Salama was in that race. She was only fifth, like well beaten, and she ran a half marathon a month later. So, I mean, I wouldn't be stunned at all if Whitney Morgan beat her again in these tactical races. And then it's a question, Ngedich is dropping down. She's a racer. She's kind of going to be focused on the track more than the roads. So maybe she's more ready for that. She's just so aerobically strong. But yeah, I would have Edgayu Taye as the favorite. I wouldn't be stunned if Morgan's second. I mean, could she win this thing, Weldon?
No. Are you guys insane?
Outdoor track. I expect one of these women who are like essentially, would she run 28 something on the roads? I mean, that's just crazy.
This is not a road 10K though.
14, 15 women, but it's a 3K, but also like 3K indoors. I mean, had Gebra Salama, how many like indoors isn't her thing, I'm just saying, yeah, that's sort of my thinking. But if you look at just the recent result at 3K, Whitney Morgan's running really well. So I think she puts up a good result in the 3K. You win the 3K, the money's looking a lot better for you in the 5K.
Well, and who else
this
is
laughable? This is laughable. It's going to be hot. These Africans are going to destroy Whitney Morgan in this race. Like, you're dinging Gebra Salama, who had never, from what I can tell, never run. Oh no, I take that back. Never mind. Don't take that back. She definitely run indoor races before, but she runs a poor indoor race, and then she goes out and runs 64:21.5 in Lisbon on March 9th. What is the American record?
This isn't a half marathon, Robert. Yes, I'm dinging her for getting smoked at the same exact distance they're racing this weekend. And guess what? Taye is also coming off a half marathon. She ran 65:52 at RAK. Now, again, she won that race, but you're just going to have the half marathoners dropping down and being fine in a slow tactical 3K?
Why would they let it go slow and tactical? Which is
because it's going to be 80 degrees. Which
is first, the 3 or the 5?
The
easier to drop somebody in a hot race. You put the pace down. Now, the only thing I'm worried about is it does take your body some time to acclimatize to the heat. And I was reading that like a 60 degree day in Boston is much harder for runners than like a 65 degree day for Chicago, because when you're training for Chicago Marathon, you're used to the summer heat. When you're in Boston, you've been cold all winter, and you're not used to the heat. What's the answer, John?
The 3K is on Friday. The 5K is on Sunday.
Look, and you got Ngedich, who hasn't run this year, but it's run 28 minutes. They're going to destroy Whitney Morgan. I mean, come on, this is laughable. You're asking if a 14. What's Whitney Morgan's 5,000 PB? 1448.
1448 around there. Yeah.
We're asking if a 1448 girl can hang with a 1412, 2845 girls. Absolutely not.
What if Sifan Hassan was in this race training for a marathon? Do you think Whitney Morgan could beat her at a 3K?
Well, no, she gets smoked. We saw that at the Olympics. Hassan was training for a marathon. She got third in the 5K, and Morgan was way down the field.
But then there was some emphasis on track. If I'm the agent to one of these, African runners on the women's side. I'm like, what are you guys doing? You're not doing half marathon. You're loading up. You're doing 3Ks and 5Ks. You're getting ready from this. We're taking the bag and running, at least from the first 2 meets of the season.
That might be what Ngedic is doing, because she did not run a half marathon this spring or this winter.
But what was she doing?
Presumably getting ready to run this race. Her agent Devo Sevilla was there. I should have asked him, but she's a racer. These other two are challengers. Actually, Gibber Salama, I'm not sure. She might actually be.
Ngedic to me is a real wild card. I mean, in case you're not familiar with her, she's supposedly only 24 years of age. She's got times dating back to 2016, but she had never broken 15 minutes on the track until 2023. She ran 14:36. And then in 2024, she opened the year at 28:46 for 10,000, and then got presumably hurt, did not run the Olympics, and then came back at the end of the year and ran 63:04 for the half marathon. And you guys are wondering if Elise Cranny can hang with her. Give me a break.
I wasn't asking about Elise Cranny. I was asking about Whitney Morgan. I will reiterate, these are tactical 3Ks and 5Ks. It's not a half marathon, Robert.
And Gedic's best 3K time for the record, 8:32. Whitney Morgan ran 8:28 indoors this year.
Well, the fact that Ngedic hasn't raced, though, is concerning to me. It means one of two things. One, she's trying to get used to those shorter distances and is just training all out for this. Or two, she's been injured.
She ran the Shericka Classic cross country.
She did. I thought she did do something somewhere, right? Did she win it in Kenya? I thought I put that on the homepage. I was like, look, I thought it was weird.
She did win it.
Okay, Tillis Tapaya's got. I think. All right, that's my bad. I overlooked it because it's not until Tillis Tapaya. But yeah, she won that race.
That's why I go to World Athletics. I don't know. They for the people at World Athletics listening to this podcast, you guys butchered your results thing. You used to be able to click on it, see the results of the race. You can't do that anymore. I don't know who won. I don't know who was second.
So she did run this race. I thought she ran a race. She won it. Oh, she's going to kill these people.
Is there a media hotel for John? Where's John staying? We need to put.
I know, John. What's behind you?
We're upset about the curtains.
So these are called curtains, Robert. You put them on windows, then you usually draw them at night. I'm in an Airbnb, which is right by the track. It's a nice apartment complex, but I've been told that the streets of Kingston can be dangerous at night. That's what I was doing some research about, what to know. And that's basically be careful. You don't really want to be walking anywhere. Now, but you know that, Robert, I love my ice cream. And there is an ice cream shop that's maybe half a mile, not even, it's 400 meters away from here or something. I feel like I'm going to take my chances afterwards and just walk over and get an ice cream. Uber. But I'm right next to the National Stadium.
It's on my conscience, John. You can pay for the Uber. Anyone know here whether, first of all, John, you're saving the company a lot of money. My God, take an Uber. And also, Robert, I guarantee, is Jonathan Gault the only journalist not on the dime in Jamaica right now? Let's do a poll on the homepage. Is Jonathan Gault the only journalist at the entire meet who paid his own way? What do you guys think? Let's hear it in the comments. Call 1-844-LETS-RUN. 1-844-LETS-RUN.
Well, I mean, FlowTrack, I saw Johnny Pace is here from FlowTrack, so I assume I don't think Grand Slam Track's paying them. They are sponsoring Sidious. I don't know how much they're giving them, but there's probably some Jamaican journalists here. I'm pretty sure I saw Jamaican journalists. I saw Robin Gremmel from the Agence France Presse, so he's here on his own dime or on the AFP's dime.
Sometimes Europeans take the cash, John.
Yeah.
I don't know if AFP probably wouldn't, but
John, if you're killed, should we put all of your ashes on the Brighton Stadium, or should I do a few at maybe a third at just the Dartmouth Green, a third at Hayward Field, and a third at Brighton? Or what about the Patriots? Fourth?
I'll just let my parents handle that one, Robert. I'm sure they'll figure out what to do.
Will your dad be upset? If I only wait 3 days and put a poll up and Let's Run? Where should we put Jonathan's ashes? Vote now.
And Jonathan, do we scrub this from the internet real quickly? We have permission to scrub this real quickly, or you want it left up for eternity?
What do you mean scrub it?
Robert, you're talking about this.
Well,
if he's dead, I would prove prophetic.
it's a little weird that Robert's like wondering about that stuff, but you can say I died doing what I love, trying to eat ice cream. So
and covering track and field.
And covering track and field. Yeah, no, I'm super excited about Grand Slam track and this race.
John, I'll get a moment. I will get the Palace fans to acknowledge you at this week's game somehow.
Oh shoot, I can't die before we beat Palace on Saturday. It's a Saturday morning. Come on, yeah, it's a big rivalry. Okay, so any final thoughts? We've been going for an hour. I'm sure we'll have another show at some point, wrapping up some of the weekend action, whether it's Friday night or Saturday night or Sunday morning.
Do we want to go live on Saturday after the 15.8, or do you want to go live after the whole meet's over? I mean, after the 1500 on Saturday or after the whole meet? I think we should go live on Saturday because we can do Tuesday show for the whole meet.
Yeah, I like that. Saturday night, let's plan on doing Let's Run After Dark, recapping the first 2 days of Grand Slam track and the 1500. Okay, thank you everyone for tuning in. Thanks Supporters Club members for being part of the Supporters Club, and anyone who signed up in the last week, especially thank you, because that money has been promised to me by our benevolent co-founder, Weldon Johnson.
Wait, yeah, sign up now, people. The money goes to Jonathan Gault. See, we've not promoted this well. I'm sorry, John. My apologies. We should have had a pop-up with a chat GPT drawing on the homepage and stuff.
Can you put a pop-up for the Alice and Felix shirt, please? I got to decide if I'm going to order them or
not. Okay. Go to shop.letsrun.com to get your pay me like Alice and Felix t-shirts. All right, John, please be safe. Feel free to Uber to the ice cream shop.
I don't think anyone's going to take a ride that goes 400 meters.
I know. That's insane, Weldon.
Yeah, I think I'll be all right.
Just keep the tab running, John.
Okay.
That'll put in some other places. They're
Go circle the block while I order my ice cream.
Casino. I don't know if a Jamaican casino's safe either.
Okay. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Looking forward to the meet. See you later this weekend.